Hey there, everybody. Welcome to a new This Is Us discussion, and this one may require a lot of different hats, so just get your hat rack nearby. You may need the Sherlock Holmes one, you may need the thinking cap, the tinfoil hat. Wrap the tinfoil around all of them.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with this. So last night, like many of you, we saw this episode where it looked like Kate was taking a pregnancy test and that she was pregnant, and she's holding it like this, and then she's like this. And we all thought, oh, okay, so that's what's happening. However, after watching it back, seeing some discussion online, now the question is was she taking a pregnancy test or was she taking an ovulation test? Because there's a couple of things that were going on here in this episode that we have gone back and looked at, and now there's a lot of questions.
I did not think we would be needing 30 minutes 2 weeks in a row to just freeze frame various things on This Is Us, but in between the fisherman last week, Kate this week, what are you doing to us, This Is Us?
Yeah, I know, right?
We have a lot to talk about here, a lot of different theories that are bouncing around about the timeline of things for Kate. Is she really pregnant? What's going on? But before we get into it, if you guys do like this video, subscribe for other updates. We have a lot of This Is Us coverage coming. And if you do want to support us further beyond watching, check out the link in the description to the store. We have shirts like this one, mugs, phone cases, all sorts of other cool stuff there. Well worth checking out.
And thank you for everyone who has subscribed to the channel. You know, it really does help us grow. And it's been nice seeing the community growing over this time. So, all right, I'll kick us off here. So, like I said, last night we saw her take something out, pull it out of the package. Later, she's looking at this thing, pregnancy. All right. What's really happening here? So when she actually pulls out the kit out of the drawer, if you freeze frame it, it actually says ovulation kit. It doesn't say pregnancy test. Then when it cuts to her holding the stick, it says pregnant, not pregnant on it with a little plus sign. So she's pregnant. That's a pregnancy test. The first thing, ovulation kit. So there are a few different sort of fan theories going out. And one of the ones that are going around is just that the crew messed up and that the ovulation kit was supposed to be a pregnancy kit. Now, we have another video, and we'll link it for you below, that This Is Us is not coming back until January 5th, 2021. And one of the reasons why is creator Dan Fogelman said that they just finished episode 4 on the Monday, the day before, right up against sort of the finish line here for us to get this episode last night. So is it possible that they're just really overworked and this was a mistake? Sure, mistakes happen.
I think we do have to consider this a possibility because, as just someone watching the show, I wasn't really, thinking about, okay, I need to scan carefully what's written on this box because I saw the pregnancy test a minute later. I saw the positive. I just assumed based on all of that, okay, that's everything that was here. And then, went and looked at some of the different post-mortems of the episodes, which are just interviews done after the fact with Ken Olin, who is the director on this episode. He talked to Entertainment Weekly, he talked to Deadline, and the questions that were asked of him on both interviews, the people asked about Kate being pregnant and the pregnancy test, and he never once clarified in any of his answers and said, oh, there was an ovulation kit involved there at any point, and there was never really any clarification at all. So it's very well possible that this is a Game of Thrones coffee cup in the wrong room sort of situation that went down here. Mistakes do happen.
Sure.
They were rushed. But if it is not a mistake, consider me so much more confused, but also kind of intrigued at what they're kind of setting up here.
Yeah, because it's possible, and I think she was still wearing the same plaid shirt when she was taking out the ovulation kit and then was later having this pregnancy test. That tells me that either, we all wear the same clothes, obviously, week after week. It happens. So it is possible that it was the same day and it was a mistake and that the ovulation kit was supposed to be a pregnancy test, or it was just later that she took this ovulation test, found out that she was ovulating, I guess, met up with Mark, because we see in the promo coming up that she's going to meet up with Mark again, which we all knew was coming, and then later took a pregnancy test and found out that she was pregnant. It is possible that she took ovulation tests, she also took pregnancy tests.
The thing about This Is Us is that they are very, very smart. And they do love to play little tricks on us to make us think that certain things are happening in the same time period when, in fact, they're not. We've seen them sort of jerk people around like that before on the show. I'm sure they will do it again. So it's possible we are looking at a couple of different time frames with the ovulation kit and the pregnancy test. They're still can be fairly close to each other, but just not necessarily the same day. And Mark of it all.
This makes it very different, though. So if she is just taking a pregnancy test, then this was unplanned, most likely, that this happened. She, everything happened with Rebecca going up and being like, don't come back here again. The brothers being like, we better not see you again. And then she takes this pregnancy test and is like, oh no, now I'm in this position, right? Mm-hmm. But if she took an ovulation test, that is something else. That is her trying to figure out when she can get pregnant at 18. I mean, going through those steps to be like, I need to know when I'm ovulating so I know when it's time to get down to business with Mark and get myself pregnant. And that is a way different storyline for Kate. That is getting into some very purposeful material here. I will say it is a more compelling storyline for This Is Us than something that because we've seen kind of the other side of this where people become pregnant with somebody who is bad for them and all that sort of stuff. We've seen that on a lot of different shows. I don't think we have seen the other side of it. And I think it's very well possible that if Kate does take an ovulation test and then decides to get down to business with Mark and then later on determines that she's pregnant, it is possible that at some point in that period of time she realizes, I really shouldn't have done this. I made a mistake. I should not have been planning for this, because like you've signaled, she did not look pleased with the result of the test after she took it. So she may have had a second thought, even if she did put a lot of planning into it at first, like going and getting an ovulation kit. Yeah, I mean, after everything that happened and she knows that her mom is done with Mark, the brothers, they're done with Mark. They've gone to the point that they've had to basically drag her out of the house. Everyone is done with Mark. So if she's going to do something like that and get an ovulation kit and be like, what is the thinking behind it then? Okay, I'm going to make sure that I get pregnant and that way they can't keep me from Mark because he's the father of my child? Or is it more of, I'm going to get pregnant from Mark? Now, Mark can't leave me, which we know is not true. Obviously, there are fathers that don't stay with mothers all the time.
Yeah.
But that, you're 18 years old and maybe you have stars in your eyes and hearts in your eyes where you're like, oh, we'll be a family together forever. I've lost my dad. I can, make him a dad and we'll be a family kind of thing. She's a young person who's in a really bad relationship, not thinking clearly. And she said she's never told anybody what's happened. Toby is the first person that's hearing about this.
The other part of it, I think, that's if they're going this direction, if they are going where Kate premeditated a lot of this wasn't a mistake to have the ovulation kit there. She just lost Jack not that long ago in this timeline. She's still mourning the loss of her father. Rebecca's obviously mourning in her own way. There's a lot going on with Randall and Kevin in this period of time. She has this big emotional hole, and I think she's probably looking for some sort of way desperately to try to fill it. And obviously having a baby is not the same thing as, having a father in your life. They're different roles, different scenarios, but she may be just desperately trying to cling to something at this point, and that could be sort of an emotional driving force for her, and maybe she finds a way to fill that void, and it's sort of that alongside her just reminding herself again that Mark is the worst human being that sort of caused her to potentially have some regrets about this later.
Yeah, because if it is an ovulation kit and she planned this, then she may be just looking for something that's permanent. And having a baby is someone who, someone who is permanent, who is going to stay with them, who is going to love them no matter what. Like, that's a bond that's forever, right? So she may just be looking to fill that hole, like you said, of missing Jack, and that it may not be 100% about Mark, be about Mark, but it might also be about Mark. It could be both, where she's like, I have this baby, fill the hole in my heart.
Yeah.
Mark has to stay with me. He's the dad. My mom has to accept it because he's the father of my child. So I get everything that I want.
The other, I think, big question mark here is, we saw sort of how this all came to light because of Kate's discussions with Ellie and the baby that she is having that Kate wants to adopt. But, how will this impact that story moving forward? Because it feels like this is something that Kate has buried really far within and tries her best to not really think about all that much. And it's already sort of brought to light. Like, does it change anything when it comes to that process of what Kate wants to do or how she feels? It's got to still have a further impact because otherwise I don't think they would be diving into it at this point.
For sure. I mean, either way, we know that she does not end up having this baby. She did not have this baby and put up for adoption. Her mother doesn't know. There's no way for that to have happened. So either she's terminated the pregnancy or she's had some sort of a miscarriage. And either one of those things is a horrible thing that's happening here, that, losing your baby, that is, a hole in your heart as well. If she was like, oh man, I was planning this, I had the ovulation kit, I got pregnant, I lost the baby, that's devastating, right? On the other hand, if you're terminating a pregnancy, that's a heavy decision at any age, to make that decision. But being very young, she hasn't spoken to anybody about it. She didn't talk to her mom, didn't talk to her brothers, nobody. If she decides to do this, then who is with her? Nobody or Mark. These are the two options. And being that young and deciding to do something like that by yourself, on your own, or with Mark, I mean, it's all something that's going to be buried really deep inside of her. I am going to say I am very glad that she is actually talking to Toby about it, because if this is something that then maybe kicked off her weight gain, that this was the sort of all the events, losing the dad, meeting horrible Mark, this pregnancy that's happened to her, and then maybe this is sort of what pushed her into her eating, that if she's now kind of getting it off of her shoulders and she's actually sharing it with someone like Toby, I mean, Toby loves her, so he's going to be there for her. Maybe this is something that can just take some of that stress away from her finally, and just unburden herself to be able to move forward with a little more confidence.
Yeah, I think it's important for her. It's something that I do hope that we get a chance to see with Kate, with Toby, with that relationship. Like, it's Kate, she's been through a lot. Clearly, she deserves happiness in the way that a lot of the Pearsons do on this show. And it does sound as though we're going to get more information on Kate in this story sooner rather than later. I don't think they're including Mark. Every time I say Mark, I just want to say it with disdain. Mark. Yeah,
we saw him in the promo, so they're not going to be waiting too long on this story, which is good, because they have so many sort of balls that they're juggling in the air at this point, that I would like to just get a couple of stories moving along at a better pace than what's been going on, because it's felt like a little bit here, a tiny bit here, the smallest bit over here, and they're just not connecting yet.
The truth of the matter is that I know This Is Us has time, but they don't have that much time, because Season 6 supposedly was going to be the final one, and I don't know if that's still going to happen if they don't get to do a full season this year or whatever else, but, we're talking about just like a couple dozen episodes, maybe a little bit more than that, until this show potentially ends. Like, they have to get the ball rolling on some stuff.
Yeah, they really do, and I mean, in general, I'm just glad to see more of a Kate story, because it feels like Kevin's been getting some really good material. Randall's always getting good material. He had great material last season. Kevin's getting a lot this season. Kate has just been kind of left behind.
No more, though. We will see where this goes. But for now, Do you think there is something here with this ovulation kit versus pregnancy test? Did someone in the prop department just like mess up and put the wrong box there?
It happens.
It does happen. Is it possible that we're looking at a couple of different timelines? Is there some trickery afoot? Let us know in the comments. And if you did enjoy this discussion, give us a like, subscribe, support us further. Check those links to the store as well as our Patreon, and we'll see you here next time.